I'm Andrew.
And I'm Morag.
And you are listening to Culips.
If you want to learn English for everyday use, you've come to the right place. At Culips, we help make English understandable. By listening to our podcast, you can learn natural expressions and conversational structure. If you're interested in learning more about Culips and what we do, check us out on Facebook or our website, culips.com. That's CULIPS.com. Thanks for listening. We hope you enjoy this episode.
Welcome back to another Real Talk episode. Real Talk is the series where we take a close look at expressions that are very important for everyday life in an English-speaking country.
That's right, Andrew. And today we are going to look at a situation that is fairly common for Canadians, and that is crossing the border into the USA, or the United States of America.
Yes, it's something I do myself, a couple times a year. And actually, more than 40 million trips are made by Canadians to the USA every year. So this is quite a huge number of trips that are being made.
You're right, that is a lot. If you're a tourist in Canada, it is likely that you would probably visit the US during your vacation. It's so close. So knowing a little bit of what to expect at the border crossing is a pretty good idea.
Yeah, I got a quick question for you, Morag.
Mm-hmm.
When you go to the USA, do you usually cross the border by land, air, or sea?
Land is my most common, at least since I've been living in Montreal. If I've gone down to Vermont or New York or Maine, it's always been in a car. How about you?
Well, I've done all three actually, but I agree with you that crossing in a car is very, very common. And so because of that, during this episode, we're going to listen to a dialogue between a Canadian crossing into the USA and an American border agent. And this will be in the context of a land crossing, of somebody driving their car from Canada to the USA. And in the next Real Talk episode, we're going to check out the opposite situation, okay? So today is a Canadian going into the USA. Next episode will be this Canadian going back into Canada. So stay tuned for that episode as well. But for today's episode, we're just focusing on crossing the border into the USA. So I have to warn everybody that obviously this dialogue is fictional and it's impossible to predict exactly what you'll hear when crossing the border. But this dialogue is based on our own personal experiences, and it reflects the way that border crossings usually go for us.
After the dialogue, we'll put it under the microscope and examine and explain all of the key vocabulary and expressions a little bit more closely.
Yes, so let's take a listen. Here it is, today's dialogue, which is a conversation between a Canadian citizen driving across the American border and her interaction with an American border agent.
Hi there, how are you?
Passport.
Oh yeah, of course. Here you go.
Where are you going?
To New York City.
And what's the purpose of your trip?
I am attending a conference there.
What conference?
It's the annual meeting of the American Historical Association. I'm a grad student who studies American history.
And how long's your stay?
1 week.
1 week for a conference?
I'm going to visit my friend in Philadelphia for 2 days after the conference.
Okay, where are you staying in New York?
The Hilton in Midtown, wherever that is.
Okay, go ahead.
So, in this dialogue, we heard an interaction between a Canadian citizen who's crossing into the US and the American border agent. So, you'll get a chance to listen to this dialogue again at the end of the episode. But for now, we'll take a closer look at the dialogue and examine the key expressions contained in it.
Yeah, so the first key expression, the first question that we heard the border agent ask the traveler was not even really a proper grammatical sentence. It was just passport.
That is usually the way it goes. And that, I suppose, is actually the question, can I have or can I see your passport? But often they will just say passport.
Yes. And the reason why, in my opinion anyways, they might ask this question in a way that sounds a little bit rude is that you're expected to have your documents ready by the time you get to the border agent. So if you pull up in your car and you're just there, you don't have your passport ready, you don't have your ID ready to show the agent, they're going to be a little frustrated with you. So you'll hear them sort of just bark out that command, passport.
Well, they see so many people in a day. Got to keep the line moving.
Yeah, so pro tip, always have your passport or your ID, your documents ready to show the agent right away, and that'll start things off well. So expression 2 is the question, where are you going?
This is one that you will always get asked when crossing into the United States. They want to know your destination. I don't think that there's a wrong answer. It's just one of those things, I guess.
I agree with you. I don't think there's a real wrong answer. Obviously, if you said something crazy, ridiculous, like, oh, I'm going to a biker gang meetup, then maybe you'll have some problems. But as long as you're honest and you're not breaking the law, then you should be able to go anywhere you want.
You could even say, I'm doing a tour around a couple of states. It's okay. It's whatever you're really doing.
The next expression, and this is one that you will also hear almost every time when crossing the border, is what's the purpose of your trip? Okay, what's the purpose of your trip? And with this expression, this question, the agent is just asking, why do you want to come into my country? What are you doing? Do you have business? Are you just doing some sightseeing? Again, this is a question that if you're having a legitimate legal vacation or visit, you should have no problems with.
Absolutely. I had a friend who worked as a border guard for a while. And a lot of these questions, especially this one, are just designed to make you uncomfortable if you are doing something wrong. So as long as you're not, you're great.
Totally. So what is our next key expression, Morag?
Our next key expression is, how long is your stay?
Yep.
So how long are you going to remain?
Sure, because I know for Canadian citizens, we can stay for up to 6 months in the USA. But it's going to be different for every country. Maybe you need a visa to visit. I don't know. The situation is different for everyone, right? But if I'm a Canadian citizen and I get asked, how long's your stay? And I answer 1 year, well, then the border agent is going to want to see my special visa for that situation. So this is just to make sure that no rules are being broken and that you are, yeah, following the law.
But if you're just doing some traveling and sightseeing, it should be just fine.
Yeah, nobody's going to travel around for 1 year. That's too long of a trip.
Right? Be interesting, but yeah.
Yeah, so the last expression, which is another question, is where are you staying? Okay, so the agent asks, where are you staying in New York? And again, he just wants to get the details, make sure that you are an honest person and have your plan sorted out. Even, I think, if you don't have a place to stay, it's probably okay, but it's always good to have this information on hand, your hotel reservation or your accommodation information, so that you can share it with the border guard if need be.
I think that's a good piece of advice, Andrew. Just have all of your information available and ready to share. They're usually nice people. They're just doing a very important job.
Yes. And so, really, why I wanted to do this episode is because I've been traveling a lot this year. And I was thinking, oh man, what if my first language wasn't English and I had to communicate with a kind of scary border agent in English? I would want to be prepared. So, this, like we said, might not be exactly what you hear when you cross the border, but it's a little primer. Maybe it'll give you some help about what to expect when you cross into the USA.
Definitely, because I think you will 100% hear at least a couple of the key expressions that we've talked about in this episode.
And so I want to do a fun little quiz right now.
Ooh,
Okay. So this is for all the listeners out there. It's brainstorm time. In today's dialogue, we heard the American border agent ask a Canadian several questions before letting her enter the USA. But like we mentioned, there are many different types of questions the agent could have asked. Can you think of some other questions you could potentially hear when crossing into the USA? We'll give you half a minute, and then Morag and I will talk briefly about some other potential questions. Okay, time's up. Morag, what did you think of? What are some other questions you might hear when crossing the border?
well, one that I heard the last time I crossed the border into the US was, do you have any fruit on you?
Ooh, do you have any fruit on you? I like that one.
Yeah, it's because of not wanting to transfer pests from one country to the other. I'm not entirely sure what that was about, but I had a mango taken away from me.
Oh, you didn't eat it?
I would have had to eat it like in 30 seconds. It
No
was so
excuses.
sad. Oh, feel bad.
I think
Yeah.
that border agent was just hungry.
Maybe. It was so sad. Did you think of any questions, Andrew?
Yeah, well, a question that I've been asked before is to give the border agent the phone number of the person that I'm staying with. So I was asked, where are you staying? Who are you staying with? I mentioned I was staying with a friend. And so the border agent asked me, can you give me the number of the person you're staying with? Yeah, so that's a
Interesting.
question I've heard before.
Yeah. Another one is they will occasionally ask if you have any weapons, any guns, ammunition, anything like that.
I've actually heard this question a couple times, and it was when I was crossing in the prairies. So I was going in between Saskatchewan and the Dakotas, or Alberta and Montana, an area of North America where people are more likely to hunt. And I think they want to ask you this question just if you're a hunter, oh, did you forget you might have your rifle in the back of your truck? Something like this.
I have also in more metropolitan areas just heard them be very, very straight up and asked, do you have any guns, weapons, or drugs? It's just
Right.
very direct.
Yeah, the obvious answer to that is no.
Oh, yes.
Either if you do or you don't.
Yeah,
Still
no.
Answer no.
All right.
Good. One more that I've heard before is, can you pop your trunk for a sec? So sometimes they just want to check in your trunk to make sure you don't have anything illegal. So yeah, that's another question. Pop the trunk means open the trunk for me. I've been asked that question before.
Absolutely. Yep. That's it's reasonably standard if they want to take a look, which isn't usually a terribly bad sign. They just check people sometimes. Yeah.
Just doing their job. That's right. Well, Morag, I think that brings us to the end of today's Real Talk episode.
I think you're right, Andrew. Before we go, I want to remind all our listeners to visit culips.com. That is culips.com, and consider becoming a Culips member. A Culips membership is awesome for people who are really serious about studying their English.
Totally. And Culips members get access to our learning materials, which are designed to help you improve your English skills and level up. You'll get transcripts, detailed explanations, and quizzes for each and every one of our episodes. And we have over 350 episodes available. So you'll get lots and lots and lots of study material.
Yeah, I think the learning materials are the best way to study while listening to Culips. So again, I just urge everybody to check out culips.com today and learn more about becoming a member.
That's it for now. We'll be back soon with another episode.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Hi there. How are you?
Passport.
Oh yeah, of course. Here you go.
Where are you going?
To New York City.
And what's the purpose of your trip?
I am attending a conference there.
What conference?
It's the annual meeting of the American Historical Association. I'm a grad student who studies American history.
And how long's your stay?
1 week.
1 week for a conference?
I'm going to visit my friend in Philadelphia for 2 days after the conference.
Okay, where are you staying in New York?
The Hilton in Midtown, wherever that is.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah.